Hey everybody, Two-Tone back with an actual new brew. Oh my god, it's been ages. I've been running Snake Eye Spiral for, I think, what, 8 months now? God help me. I'm just happy to see something new even if it's not complete. So, you've heard the news, Engraver came out at, what is it, 3 a.m. this morning? God, jeez. I should not be doing this late, but here we are. I'm going to get this video out because I've just had nothing else to do and I want to do something. So yeah, here's Fiendsmith Engraver. It does the Fiendsmith engine. You've probably heard of it. Any light fiend turns to the Requiem, and then Requiem summons Engraver because they didn't release Lacrima. And if you have another body, you can turn that into Sequence, Sequence into Lacrima, Lacrima summon back Engraver. That makes a Beatrice. Or you can just use Sequence to make the Omni-Negate somewhat Fiendsmith Desiree. Basically the same thing. Engraver can search Tract, and Tract can pick Lurie, and Lurie summons itself to the field to get you to Requiem. I'm only playing one Tract because it's not one card combo without the main deck version of Lacrima that would send Engraver to the graveyard to give you enough material to do a full combo. But you could run 3 Tract, you could cut some of the stuff in here. But the main thing I'm here to show you is that Engraver is a 1-card combo. The downside is that you only get 2 Engraver. In your hand at the very least. That's kind of the important part because you need Lurie too for this to work. So you can't like Tract for Engraver, discard Engraver, and do anything. You still have to use the Lurie. But we're playing, or at least I'm going to be trying out Small World because of the lack of the full Fiendsmith support. Small World can get to Engraver like any of your dark spellcasters. You can go through a Bestial, which are going to be very good in this format, to get to Engraver. Think of this like the Pangertops I was using in my old builds as a good Small World bridge. Also, any of your Earth guys can go through Fenrir to get to Engraver because they both have 2400 defense. Isn't that cute? So Engraver is the core card here, and it is a 1-card Spiral combo through a little bit of help from our newly unbranded friend Nightmare Goblin. This is probably like the most important Nightmare Goblin's been since it came out to us. It's going to let us do this. The downside of Fiendsmith is that, God, it takes up a lot of extra deck space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra deck spaces. Ugh. Or 6, because it closed me, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's rough. You might see that I've cut Unicorn and Axis Code Talker. Part of that's because the Fiendsmith stuff does remove cards from the field the same way Axis Code Talker would, and getting lethal damage isn't that hard afterwards. Though without Agnes Day, it's a little bit harder. We'll get to that when we get to it, but the main thing is I just want to try something new, and this is kind of like the consolidated version of the list. If you're really missing Unicorn and Axis Code Talker, you can cut Masquerade and Little Knight and throw them back in there, or just cut Masquerade and throw Axis Code back in there. I don't really care which one you do. Have fun with it. Build it your own way. This is just what I'm going to be trying out at first. You'll see I have a cross out in here, so I threw in a Fualos, and I'm already running the Bestials because of the Small World stuff, so it kind of works out. And you see I'm running the Rainbow Bridge setup. This is important to the 1-card combo, so this is necessary, which also gives me access to full Spyral goods. The other thing I'm playing is the Castiras, and while Fenrir was a Small World bridge, you're just going to play the Castiras because the Castiras are really, really good in Fiendsmith format. One, they can snipe Sequence out of your opponent's deck, which makes it really hard for them to do any of the Fiendsmith stuff, and 2, Castira has inherent synergy with Spyral because Birth can let you normal summon Master Plan, and also the Small World bridges, and they're just good cards in general. And we're doing field spell stuff with Rainbow Bridge, and they have a good field spell, Wraith Soth. So there's a bunch of like incidental synergy here. Anyhow, that's enough yapping. Let me actually show you the quick and dirty 1-card combo that I literally put together last night before this release came out, just so I could show you the video. Alright, so here we are, and because I'm running Small World, this is the Engraver combo. So let me show you that 1-card combo using the Bestials. Ta-da! Then we get Engraver. The funny thing about our deck is because like Fiendsmith doesn't have like a straight-up searcher for the deck, they don't have like a reinforcement of the army or a bonfire, everyone's going to be running 2 Engraver and probably 1 Tract until main deck Lacrima comes out. But even though we're a 60-card deck, because we have functionally 5 copies of Engraver, thanks to Small World, we can kind of Engraver more often than most people. It's a little funny that way. So go ahead and get Lurie. Now, admittedly, you don't actually have to use the Small World version that I'm using. That's just, I think it's going to be fun to get to Engraver as often as possible. That's the build I'm going to be trying out first. By no means is this a completed version of the deck. This is my first draft. I haven't played it in this meta. I don't know exactly how good everything I'm running is going to be. But this is still the basic 1-card combo. That's not going to change no matter what. Summon Engraver. At least until they release main deck Lacrima. And I'm so annoyed that they didn't actually release Lacrima. because it's gonna like I'm gonna have to show you guys how to do this all over again with Lacrima. Now you put back Lurie when you summoned your second engraver from the graveyard, and then you make sequence. This is like the important one to resolve. So if like you're gonna imperm something or you're gonna unicorn something out of the extra deck, sequence is kind of the most important one typically. Technically, track Confuse from the graveyard, but it's really hard to pull off, especially without Lacrima. Main deck Lacrima. I hate that they gave the extra deck monster and the main deck monster basically the same name. I know it's like lore reasons, but I mean this Lacrima, not that Lacrima. Ugh. Anyhow, back to the combo. So if you're familiar with the Snake Eye version of the combo, where they basically do exactly what I'm doing, they go to sequence, they make Beatrice, they send Snake Eye Ash to the graveyard, then make Promethean Princess with Beatrice plus sequence. We're basically doing the same thing. I mean, I did come up with this combo on my own, but it's not like, it wasn't super hard to derive based on like the info I had from more popular decks. But we do it this way. We go through Rainbow Bridge. That's why I'm running it, because this is the way you get Quick Fix in hand for your normal summon. And also Rainbow Bridge is kind of like the best version of the card that works this way. And we summon Quick Fix with our normal summon. So it is important that you have your normal summon for this combo, obviously. But the Fiendsmith stuff doesn't use normal summon, so it works out just fine. That it does mean that you can't like normal summon double agent and do the full combo. That is a limitation of the deck. Oh, so now this is the important thing. Nightmare Goblin's finally super important to a version of the deck. It was kind of an option before. You've seen me running it before, but it's actually critical to making this combo work because of the extra normal summon. I'll just pitch that Crystal Beast that we searched. And now we can normal summon to a Nightmare Goblin zone into the Goblin zone. Thanks to Drone. And if you might, you might be seeing the pattern here. Normal summon Drone. My goodness, that's 2 Spyral names on the field. And I know the top card of the deck is a spell card thanks to Drone. Well, if I didn't know any better, I'd say that's Spyral combo. So yeah, here we are. Spyral combo. And the fun thing about this is that this line does get you through 3 spells guaranteed. You go through Tract, you go through Big Red, and you go through Spyral Resort, which you search all 3 throughout this combo, which means Celine's online. So you don't have to ever worry about like very corner case Celine scenarios. You're good. Now technically you don't get to chain block your master plan in this combo, because, you know, Celine's mandatory, so she has to go on Chain Link 1. But if someone has held an Ash this long into your combo, I mean, I guess they deserve it, but they're also dumb. Technically, if I wanted to, I could make an Appaloosa early, but I'm not bothering. So Master Plan from Graveyard. Then you get your Assault mission. And you discard your Assault. Now you will notice I'm not running a rank 1. That's because the extra deck is super tight and you gotta make room. So you get Quick Fix. I'm also running Utility Wire. That's an unusual one for me. I usually begrudge this card. That's because we put so much effort into making the extra deck like function to make Fiendsmith work that the inboard isn't super strong because it's not doing something degenerate. So I'm making up for lack of extra deck room by putting in a card in my main deck. It's kind of like how I don't like Tri-Blade Wizard a lot of the time, but it is the most efficient thing to do. There we go. And now you go into Tri-Gate Wizard. And then you can discard this rescue with Quick Fix. And this is kind of the reason I'm running a second Big Red, is you're always guaranteed this final Quick Fix search. So you get to get through every single gear. It's not relevant. You could cut the second Big Red. Then you can rescue back a Master Plan. And you just make a Appaloosa. At this point, you can make the decision whether you want to keep Nightmare Goblin or not, but I mean, it is an extra interaction just to go into Little Knight here. Might as well. You have the extra material. Why not get the interaction? Make sure to Tri-Gate Wizard first. It's very important. And there's nothing you really want to, you don't want to Little Knight yourself, but it's an interaction, right? Now we can go Spyral Resort. Search out our good friend Sleeper. And summon Sleeper. And we're good to go. And set your last resort, or your utility wire. So that's it. It's just a one-card combat that gets you to the most basic Spyral board imaginable. Tri-Gate, Appaloosa, Sleeper, etc., etc. I didn't mean to double-click that, but here we are. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, Tri-Gate, Appaloosa, Sleeper, and utility wire to make up the difference of a board not being strong enough in this iteration. And a Little Knight, because, it's nice to have Little Knight around. So you could Tri-Gate Wizard, and then if they have something else, you can Little Knight and save your Appaloosa or something, stuff like that. You also do have an extra rescue mission that you never use throughout the combo, which is kind of important. You actually technically have 3. You only search 2 rescue missions in the one-card combo, which is pretty relevant. And if you have any extra bodies or, access to Magician Souls or something, you can get those in the graveyard and send back Master Plan and do all sorts of shenanigans. But, yeah, the important thing about this combo when you're doing it from the Spyral side is you'll do, like, the basic Spyral combo where you go, Souls plus Quick Fix into Discard Rescue, Big Red Master Plan, Discard Rescue, make Goblin, make Selene, make Helix, and then you make Closed Moon afterwards, and that'll get you to the Fiendsmith combo, and you eventually end up on basically this same board plus Desiree, because you don't need to use the Fiendsmith stuff to go into Spyral. You could just make a Desiree instead and have that on the board as an Omni-Negate, which is kind of neat. You could also, like, if you really wanted to cut something else, I mean, you don't have to play Masquerena. She's not necessary. You could maybe throw in, like, a Wave High King Caesar or something, or if you're feeling frisky, you could make Beatrice the same way we've been doing, and then cut Desiree entirely, and then use Beatrice to do something degenerate, like send transaction roll back in the Mayakashi trap or whatever, and that's kind of like an instant win. Or you could put in a Nightmare Griffin and then send an anti-spell fragrance if you're afraid of spells, stuff like that. Anyhow, that's the one-card combo. Let's get back to the deck. Alright, now that you've seen the basic combo, let's talk about the substance of the deck and what I think is going to be relevant in this metagame. Unfortunately, I'm not sure this is better than Snake Eye. Snake Eye just received a bunch of new support at the same time as this. If you look up like Sinful Spoils or whatever, they just released a new one, Sinful Spoils Deception, which is basically, if you run a little bit of Azamina stuff, is full Snake combo, and it searches Diabell Star and blah blah blah. And we already know Spyral Snake Eye is good, and it wins. So it just got more consistency pieces, so I'm not sure this isn't just better. Also, because Fiendsmith's going to be so unbelievably popular, everyone's going to be main decking a lot of Bystials. And Bystials are going to be good against every iteration of this deck. It's good against the Fiendsmith, it's good against the Spirals, it's actually solid against the Kashtiras. Like, it might trigger a Unicorn or something, but, I mean, these are $2,500 attack bodies that can crash into your Unicorn and beat over your Fenrir, right? They're just really, really good in this format. Other things to take note, if you really, really wanted to, you could run Spyral Double Agent in this deck just to, get with Spyral Resort and normal summon and go into a janky Fiendsmith line. It doesn't really work without main deck Lacrima, but if you have like an extra body or you're running Dangers or something, it kind of works, kind of, sort of, a little bit. You also don't have to run the Kashtiras in the Small World package. You could just play the Fiendsmiths as like, cards you have to run to make the Moon and Closed Heaven stuff work, not like build your deck around it. You can do all sorts of things. This is kind of like my first draft. Think of this as a rough way of me putting together the deck. For instance, I think Monster Reborn is going to be really good in this format. There's going to be a lot of Kashtiras in the graveyard. There's going to be your opponent's Fiendsmith stuff in the graveyard that you might be able to like get some stuff going with. But the main problem, I think, is that this inboard isn't super strong. Even if you open the Spyral side of the combo and you end up with Utility Wire and Desiree on the field, it's going to be susceptible to Super Polymerization because you're going to have a Light Fiend and a Light Fiend, right, on the field at the same time. So maybe the Beatrice shenanigans is just better. Now you cut Desiree, throw in an Access Kotaker, and then throw in Transaction Rollback in the Mayakasi Trap and just win the game that way, right? Who knows? This is going to be what I'm going to be testing out first, and when they release Main Deck Lacrima, then I'll show you maybe a more concise version of the deck. Also, a funny thing is, there's a second one-card combo available to Spyral once they release all of the Fiendsmith report, and one more card called Duke of Demise. Thanks to Agnes Day, the Fiendsmith Link 3, Main Deck Lacrima, and being able to summon Duke of Demise, another Fiend fusion monster, you actually have like a normal summon quick fix one card combo that basically gets to the same Sleeper Appaloosa Trigate utility wire board that you just saw me, use with Engraver, which is kind of funny, but not sure how great that is, but it's interesting and it's different and it's due. One thing I will say in heavy favor of this deck is A, it plays super well with Kashtira's, which are just going to be strong and have great incidental Spyral synergy. 2, it's a good Small World shield. I love Small World. This card is like crack to me, coming up with funny Small World lines. 3, the Fiendsmith cards are really good at breaking boards. That's one of the big advantages that Snake Eye always had. They put up a lot of material that threatened boards, and Flamberge also threatened boards, but like, Engraver has an effect once you summon it to remove a card from the field, and then if you keep going from there, I mean, Desiree, if you can get that in the field and link that off, that also removes a card from the field, and it's actually pretty good at OTKing once they get Agnes Day, just stuff like that, right? It's like a really powerful engine, and it's played everywhere for a reason, but my fear is that like cards like Fualaws and the Bestials are going to be in super high demand because Fiendsmith is weak to those cards, and those are cards we don't want to see as Spyral players. So there you go. Another upside I'd like to mention, aside from the Snake Eye stuff, is Snake Eye has to run a lot of like pseudo bricky cards. You don't want to draw Poplar, you don't want to draw Oak, you don't want to draw Flamberge, you don't want to draw the Field Spell, and you don't want to draw Snake Eyes D-Bell Star through running that. That's 5 cards you don't want to draw. With Fiendsmith, the only card I really, really don't want to draw is Cobalt Eagle, right? Like, maybe I don't want to draw Tract plus Engraver. If I did, I'd want to run 2 Tract so I could still get them in the graveyard or something. But, like, everything is pretty much good to draw, right? These are the only cards in the engine, and even if you draw Lurie, like, if you have Spyral combo, you could, like, normal summon Lurie with Nightmare Goblin partway through the combo or something, and it works just fine. It's just one of like the funny eccentricities, and then go into a much more efficient version of the Fiendsmith combo instead of having to make Closed Moon. That's kind of all. There's not really a whole much more to say until they release the entire engine and maybe some other cards. And there is one more archetype that should you just be on the horizon that I think is going to completely redefine the way we play Spyral, and you probably have no idea what it is. It's super absurd. But when it gets there, I'm going to be super hyped, so just keep a lookout. We're going to be playing Fiendsmith for a while, but man, I got something really juicy in the pressure cooker, just waiting for them to release the cards. Anyhow, thanks for watching, everyone. I know it's been a long time, and I'm glad you're all sticking with me. I finally got something new to show off, and I might actually stream a little bit now that we've actually got something that isn't Snake Eye stuff. Or heck, maybe I'll just play all those new Sinful Spoil Azamina cards in the Spyral engine and see how that works. Anyhow, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.